everyone, and welcome back to 40 Cray, the podcast from two almost 40-something guys whose adult lives and responsibilities have not eclipsed their love of nerdy stuff, including Warhammer, Dungeons & Dragons, video games, Sailor Moon. What else, Tom? What else am I missing? Cheetos?
It fits your fandom. We're your tandem.
You should do radio. That was a very good, well, I guess that's what we're doing, but you have this deep resonant bass voice. I always imagine my voice is very high and reedy. Anyway, that voice you heard that was so resonant and bass-like was my co-host Tommy Bones.
Hello.
And of course, I'm Ben, aka LS Demon. And I'm actually joined by a special guest today, Andrew, aka the Chaos Demon, my brother.
Hello.
Welcome.
It's funny, Andrew, I don't know why, but we've had Demon in every one of our gamer tags or side names since 1994.
Blame Revenge.
Oh yeah, we actually talked about WCW NWO Revenge, this N64 game where we would change all the names to things. So it was a wrestling game, but you could change everybody's name. Yeah.
I think I changed Goldberg's name to Poopy Pants and made his little Speedo brown, and that was my character.
By the way, I still have that same cartridge, and I booted it up, and it's still Poopy Pants.
I thought it was funny. I'm juvenile. It is what it is.
All right. Well, what are we talking about tonight other than wrestling nostalgia? So Tom, you and I talk a lot about people we play with, especially Kill Team. We're primarily Kill Team players because we don't have the time to do huge 40K armies. And Tom, your main is usually Chaos, Emperor's Children. Like Andrew said, I do 1,000 Suns, or you said that before we started recording, but I do a lot of Chaos too. Andrew, your main is the Orcs.
I love the Orcs. They're wonderful. I mean, they're not good, but they're a lot of fun.
Well, so we wanted to do a Waagisode where we could talk, or maybe it's an Orkisode. I don't know, one of the two, to talk about orcs, because we referenced them a couple times. They're super interesting in the 40K lore for a variety of reasons, and they came up in our discussion with Gabrielle about Geller fields and warp travel. So first question, Andrew, what is it that made you fall in love with the orcs back when you did?
Well, I was young when I first, came into 40K. I mean, you were the one who liked it, and I was like, well, I was playing Warcraft at the time, which was before it was cool. The original Orcs and Humans, and I liked the orcs in that game, so I was like, oh, cool, orcs. But I kind of fell in love with them. They're just, in a universe with a bunch of people with really complex backstories and so many, reasons for doing what they do. They're just like, dude, let's just crump people. What's better than that? They're pure id.
Yeah, and it's, Andrew, I mean, we have the guy so you and I still play Kill Team even during COVID because we're in a bubble. And we have one other guy who we're kind of co-located with, Phil. And he always likes to tell us that Warcraft originally was going to be in the 40K or the Warhammer universe, but they couldn't get the license. So
I know StarCraft was. Maybe Warcraft was too. I know the guy who created both is super into Warhammer. So I think they were trying to secure the license. But for sure, I mean, if you look at StarCraft, Zerg are like Tyranids, the Marines are Space Marines, kind of, and but legally enough distinct. And then the Protoss community are Tau. But
or I think Tau weren't, so it probably would have been Eldar, right? Because Tau probably weren't around back then.
Again, but I think they wanted to make it legally distinct in its own IP, so changed it enough.
That's a good, so Warhammer influenced StarCraft, which influenced the creation of Tau later on.
I would say so. Yeah.
Tom, you and I are also big fans of orcs. What do you think about what Andrew said? He says, it's just pure id. For me, I just think they have the best sense of humor.
I like that they are the strongest psychers in the galaxy, but they don't realize it.
So one rule I love from tabletop is the more orcs they have around their psychers, the stronger their abilities are, but it still counts towards their perils of the warp, so their heads explode more if more people believe around them.
So yeah, I remember because in second edition, which, by the way, we never played. I just had a couple of the codexes or something. I think I got a lot of them secondhand. But I remember we talked about weird boys and that their heads always exploded. And it was kind of funny. It was no big deal. They are weird. But I mean, that's also why red ones go faster. and blue ones are lucky.
I think I remember the weird boys were prone to explode unless they had a copper stick that would sort of channel the psychic energy away from them. So they would also be used as a weapon if they put them in a cart, took the stick away, and pushed them towards the enemy. They would just sort of be like a time bomb, and then eventually the weird boy would explode once it got to the enemy ranks.
That's another good point. Orcs are kind of dicks to each other.
I mean, there is no sense of self. It's the collective, you know? It's like, oh, I'm going to explode? Dude, let's do it.
Sounds
Awesome.
like cow propaganda, but okay.
And I love, like, for years they would show us all these vehicles. They didn't always have the, like, well, they work because they believe they work. I think that was added. At least I wasn't aware of that until, like, the early 2000s. Before then, it was just, oh, well, they have this ingrained, ability to make things because they're actually a race that was created by the old ones and programmed them with this knowledge. And then at some point they said, you know what? There's no way any of this stuff would fly. It's because they believe it. It flies because they believe it.
Yeah, I think that was a retcon.
One of my favorites, though.
I mean, it's good lore. Solid lore.
So here's the next question, right? Like, if you look at other orc depictions, like I typed in orcs into the GIFs on my phone just to send you guys one before this, and it showed me like Lord of the Rings orcs. It showed me Warcraft orcs. Like, for you guys, where does the Warhammer orc stack up, relative to other orcs in fiction?
10 out of 10. I mean, you get
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings orcs are just like rough dudes, and then like Warcraft orcs are like, I don't know, they're like kind of warlike, but Warhammer orcs put the pedal down, and they were like, you know what? Let's go full into this. Let's make them as ridiculous as possible, and again, just aids to why they're so likable.
Yeah, the other universes, it seems like they just use orcs as the generic bad guy. They need a faceless monster to slaughter by the thousands and not feel anything. But 40k orcs, they're humorous. They're easily the best.
They're definitely the comic relief of the whole universe.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And I love, like, the personality too. They're not just stupid. Like, a lot of the time they're dumb. Mm-hmm. But there's been a couple books that have come out recently. I haven't actually read any of them, but thanks to Reddit, I see snippets, and I do have them in my like wish list on Audible. But as an example, there's the whole rivalry between Commissar Yarrick and Ghazghkull, and at one point, I think it's like Ghazghkull has Yarrick as a prisoner, and Yarrick gets turned in by somebody who betrays him from the Imperium, and Ghazghkull kills the traitor and then lets Yarrick go. Because he's like, yeah, go get more armies because I want to fight you again because you're really good.
Well, there's also, one of those closet theories that I love to read, the tinfoil ones, where so Yarrick is a power claw, which only works for orcs because they believe it works, right? So the theory is Yarrick, and by extension humans, are orcs. They just don't know they're orcs.
Or that's another one where the Emperor is alive because the orcs believe he is.
Yeah.
Mm. Have you seen the Bernie Sanders meme on the Golden Throne?
Yeah, of course.
Peak internet. I love it.
So, but that right about when that was circulating, there was this like rush on some of the Reddit channels, especially Grimdank, of like there's somebody who looks like really pleased with himself, and it says like, oh, demons when they find a ship whose Gellerfield went down, and then the next panel they're like, oh shit,
Panic.
And it's like, yeah, they realize it's an orc ship and they put the Gellerfields down on purpose.
Yep.
And we covered that. It's like, because Gabrielle, we were talking about going through the warp, and Tom mentioned, well, orcs go through the warp, but they don't have a Gellerfield. And she goes, well, what do they do? Nothing. They like it.
It's an excuse to crump demons.
Yeah.
And like, Tom, who's the orc who's like in the warp in perpetuity fighting for Khorne?
Tuska Demon Killer. Demon Killer with an A.
Come on, there's no E's and R's in the orc.
Right. What was I thinking? So they used a bunch of weird boys to sneak around Cadia without being noticed, and went into the Eye of Terror to fight demons. They landed on one of Khorne's demon worlds, and battle ensued, and Khorne was so impressed that he brought all the orcs back to life every time, and they just like constantly fight. And every time they get slaughtered, and Khorne brings them back, and they love it, and they do it again the next day. Even though they know they're going to die, they're just having a blast, and they just keep at it.
So it's like orcish Valhalla.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like that's a hell for like most species, but for the orcs, they're like, oh, I did something good. This worked out well.
There's no end to the krumpin.
That's okay. So that's another thing. The accent, like they have a very distinctive accent and way of speaking, which I think it's known. It's modeled after what, like soccer
Cockney.
hooligans? Yeah, Cockney, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I don't know much about accents and connotations with accent, but I feel like the Cockney accent is like the British equivalent of like the Florida Panhandle accent. It's like the just common, oh, goddamn, we're gonna. So in my head lore, my head canon of my orcs, they're always like from that part of the world, like Southern Alabama Panhandle. Like, goddamn, we're gonna go crump them. Let's do it. So I don't know.
Now, first of all, Andrew, we should mention that that's your and my actual accent because we grew up in Florida.
Well, it's not that caricature and hyperbolized, but yes, I talked about like that until I was about 8 years old.
And we worked hard to get rid of that. But I was actually thinking, is a Cockney accent, is it like a New Yorker or is it like a Florida Panhandle guy?
I think it has a lot of the connotations of both, right?
Okay.
Because a Cockney accent's a super urban accent, but I think it's thought of as like this less educated.
Yeah.
I mean, and this might be total not knowledge of the connotations of a British accent, but
I mean,
it's on Train Spotting.
Yeah.
And other British movies I've seen. It seems lowbrow and sort of working class, I guess.
Which is another reason why, like, Andrew, I spent more time in the South, I think, than you did because you're a little bit younger, and we had moved a little bit more north when you were younger than I was. Mm-hmm. But when I moved, like, I had this accent, which was like, I ain't got but one ink pen. And people think you're stupid if you sound that way. So
which
it's
is
like,
I don't know about you, but that's why I worked hard to try to sound like a California accent, because people would just like write me off the second they started hearing me. Goddamn, we're gonna go down to the theater. And again, it wasn't that caricaturized, but it was,
Man, you guys got a cement pond?
I'm fixing to use this rubber cement.
Yeah. Hey, it's gonna rain. You got an umbrella? But like, I say that because, like, to the Cockney people out there, tell me, feel free to comment. Like, do you feel like you're getting maligned like we did? Let's connect. Well, we can share our dislike of being stereotyped. But anyway, okay. So orcs, they're hooligans. They're fun. They're crazy. They are the comic relief to some extent, but they have a sense of orky honor. What's it like to play them on the game? Because I know you play them at Kill Team, Andrew.
Well, I mean, I'm a douchebag. I try to be as much of a douchebag as possible. But again, spirit of fair play. I know they're not the best army. They're just fun. Most of the time I end up breaking and running away because the leadership's not very good and I got to take a lot of guys. But you know what? I had a good time. And that's really what's important.
Tom, that doesn't sound too different from your love of Emperor's Children, even though they're not super competitive in the Kill Team space.
Right. Just being able to do fun things. Like, I get to shoot twice.
Well, I figured out some really cheeky strategies that I take advantage of. And honestly, that's where I find fun. So one thing I do, and I'll just jump into it, because this is one reason I think you wanted to have me on, that I talk about my stupid stuff that I do. I build my entire strategy around it. So first of all, everyone wants to play Evil Sons, but I say nah, and I play Death Skulls. And I'll tell you why I play Death Skulls. I build my entire army around an Orc Boy Gunner with Gunna. Right, no E's and R's. And he has a rocket launcher. And
launcher.
10 points. He's a really cheap model. And honestly, if you focus fire on him, he will die. But I let an ammo run chill with him. And basically, he's the first one I shoot with every turn. And because he's Death Skulls, he shoots. He can re-roll that because of the ammo run. And then I pay the CP to do the it's either Daka or more bullets or something like that. But he shoots again, and then I can Death Skulls re-roll that. So I'm effectively shooting 4 times with a rocket launcher that's hitting on a 5 at best. But when it hits, like there was one game I was playing against Ben, your Custodes, and I straight up killed a Custode.
with a 10-point Orc Boy Gunna with a rocket launcher.
It was about the highlight of my Kill Team experience right there. Killing a third of your really overpriced army with one shitty guy.
It's funny because like the only real like shooty orc army in the meta that I've seen is the freebooters, because they have that what is it called, like custom snaz gun, and they have the skill they have is if one of them kills an enemy, because they're all like trying to outdo each other, everyone else gets a bonus to hit, and it stacks. So there was somebody at camp, like everyone was doing the reds, or not the red, the Evil Sons like rush melee army, and then I think like one or two guys at it was like Las Vegas Open, I think a couple years back, brought this like snaz gun army where they killed a guy with like the Burna, right, because it auto hits, and then they started getting this bonuses and stacks. So by the end, everybody was hitting on like twos with really good guns, which are underpriced because you assume they're not going to hit anything. So that was the only other shooty meta, and then all of a sudden Andrew was legit killing all my big guys with a rocket launcher, which is not supposed to happen.
And to be fair, it works 30% of the time. It works every time. but when it does, it's and again, I don't build my whole army around that, but my shooting portion, yeah, absolutely, because Death Skulls have the advantage of you have a hit reroll and a wound reroll, right? Every phase, which includes Overwatch, which includes shooting, which includes fighting, and already your fighting's pretty darn good. So, you get a bunch of boys, you get a couple of knobs, and then you get your stupid rocket launcher dude to just completely clown big guys.
By the way, that's the only time one of my custodians has ever been killed in a kill team match.
Right, and it was a 10-point model that took him out.
And I think
killing custodian is a victory in of itself.
Tom, I think you only lost one custodian ever, right?
Yeah, but it really gimped me because then I could only hold one objective and. Yeah.
I mean, but even then, like, I think I've beaten your custodians, but it's never fun. Like, I don't get to trump anyone. Except when I got the one guy with the rocket launcher, but I don't know. I don't play to win. I play to kill dudes.
Mm-hmm.
That's another good point is like if we were probably playing in a tournament, it's different for sure. And when we play, like, we're just trying to like definitely kill things.
I get those moments where like, I killed your dude with a rocket launcher. So, it's the adrenaline dump. That's what I play for.
So let's see. So we got the rocket launcher there. Oh, I think you killed Phil's Incubus with, or his Clavex with the rocket launcher too. Yeah. So that's got a 16-point model.
Like I said, 30% of the time it works every time.
Well, also though, if somebody charges him, he's still got 2 attacks hitting on 3s. So he's not bad. Yeah, he's not bad in close combat.
Yeah. Right. But again, a stiff breeze will knock him down. So,
well, he's tough as 4. He's still better than like Guardman.
Yeah, but I mean, you got T-shirt save. Oh, that's the other thing about Death Skulls is they get the 6 invuln, which again, if you have any AP, you don't get a save. So a 6 invuln, it's not bad. I mean, it's saved my butt more times than it's supposed to.
Should.
Yeah, for sure.
So we got the sneaky rocket launcher that for 1 CP can actually shoot 4 times.
You want me to talk about the other clone strat?
Yeah, there's another. There's at least one more that you did on me where I legitimately was like, oh shit, that was a really good move.
The thing is, right, I take 2 ammo runs, usually 2, sometimes 1, but at least 1, and I park them in a place where they can't be seen, which is behind the thighs and calves of the dude they're supporting. So if there's a guy close enough to charge, what do? I charge with the ammo run, who's 3 points, who you can't overwatch because you can't see him. And at best, he forces you to, do your retreat and you can't do anything. And at worst, you are now in combat with a 3-point model. And who cares? But it's, I think when I first got you with that, you were just like, oh yeah, I guess I can't see him. Damn. And then I think it was a Khorne Berserker I charged.
No, it was a flamer, because remember I had all these flamers because I was like, okay, I'm gonna auto Overwatch and you'd have no armor, so I'm gonna do really well. And then you charged me with this grot, and I'm like, what? He's behind him? I can't see him. I can't Overwatch him. And then my flamers were completely neutralized. And by the end of it, you killed like 3 of my special weapons guys.
Because then once they're in combat with the grot, you're free to charge in with your actual combat dudes, and they can't do anything about it. That's brilliant.
one truly undervalued thing about Kill Team that really I've read a lot of things, I've seen some stuff no one really talks about is try to make someone's turn useless with someone who they're really relying on. Like that flamethrower. If I charge you with a 3-point model, you are completely useless for a turn, and you really needed him to do something that turn. So, yes, holding points with things that can't get killed, although it's a little boring, but making stuff useless is where I go for.
Definitely did that with the flamer guy, but I mean, again, like once they get in close combat, they're really good for the points. Like an orc boy is what with a chop is like 7 points, right? Or is it 8?
7 with the choppa. But even the shooter boy is 6 points. He's not anything to sneeze at in close.
That's true, because he's still got 2 attacks.
Right. You just get an extra attack with the choppa, which is helpful for sure, but sometimes the shooter boy is the right choice.
So for contrast, right? So like the thing we always fight that's been really tough for the orcs to beat, although I think you've actually kind of figured it out, is like a Drukhari rack list.
I spent easily a month trying to theory craft something that could reliably go up against a rack list. And I mean, do I want to pun it? Yes, I racked my brain for a long time. It's impossible. There is nothing. At best, you're getting a coin flip against a rack list at best. And honestly, I have never once had fun to the point where I think the last time I played against a rack list, I had a temper tantrum and I said, I'm never playing against a rack list again. I mean, it's pretty accurate, I would say. I'd maybe temper tantrums a little selling it, but I just like, no, I'm not having any fun. Every week I play a rack list.
You mean it's raccurate?
It's raccurate, for sure.
So I think, let's see, Tom, you and I talked a while ago about, because we were trying to figure out like what are the gatekeeper armies, and with racks it's like take out things that have a lot of shots and that don't rely on AP.
I think ultimately we settled on Smash Captains.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It's always Smash Captains.
So take a jetpack and a Thunderhammer.
Oh.
So for in 8th edition and 40k, like there was just a way OP. You could be a Space Marine with a jump pack, a Storm Shield, and a Thunderhammer, and like pretty reliably like take down Knights, because like Knights were the thing to beat for a while. So we were trying to figure out, because in Kill Team that would be like a 30-point model, because you got to pay probably like 14 or 15 for a Vanguard veteran. It's like 5 for the Storm Shield, 5 for the jetpack, and I think another at least 5 for the Thunderhammer. So you're talking about like a 30-something point model, but it's got a 3-up invuln and a weapon that does like, I think, a flat 3 damage or something.
I mean, at that point, it's like just play Custodes, man. I think that's what you really want to do.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So let's see. So Drukhari, definitely a tough game. Who do you think are like the orcs best against and worst against? So we said Drukhari, obviously, if it's a rack list, it's tough because they got invulns. And for a similar price, like they're actually going to be better than you in close combat because of those rules. Who's your favorite person to play against if you're playing orcs?
It is honestly a great question, and I will pick a very orky answer and say anyone who I can crump. But honestly, I like playing against Tau, only because it is more than satisfying when I finally get in close and kill that stupid rifle that's been, one-shotting my guys every single. What is the name of that damn gun?
The rail rifle.
Rail rifle, which rails me. Anyway.
We're really going to that town with the puns today.
Yeah. It's me. If you have me on, that's what's going to happen. But yeah, so the one thing I definitely do against any list, honestly any list these days, is the commando. So I never used to take commandos until you started playing Thousand Suns with a Terminator and deep striking him in behind me and ruining my day. So now I take a commando knob and 2 commandos just to put themselves behind things. So anytime I'm playing against a shooty army like Tau or Admech or anyone like that, I try to put them off their kilter and get in close. And that's what I enjoy playing against.
Yeah, the commando is like a real, for 1 point, being able to put him and 2 other commandos behind enemy lines is good. And I think you always give him the power claw and the combat specialism, right?
Correct, yeah.
So
he always works. He shouldn't, but he always does.
He gets work done. Like, he usually dies, but he usually takes out a couple big guys before he dies.
Or at least is enough of a threat that he diverts your resources away from my, 10 boys who are charging.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, Tom, do you have anybody? Yeah, and your precious rocket launcher, who you should probably name. You should give that guy a name.
I'll come up with a good one.
Okay, I was gonna call him Rocky, but I think we're done with the puns here.
I did that with my salamanders. The MVP of the match got some flame iconography, and then they slowly got more and more flames on their armor. I just did the math here. A company vet with a hammer, storm shield, and jump axe, 32 points.
I love how serious you are right now. You're like our analyst on the front. Like, okay, it's 32 points.
So yeah, you could take 3 of those, if that's even legal. I don't know.
I think you have to have at least 5 models to be a viable kill team, unless you're Custodes, right? Or is it 3? I think.
Yeah, 3, 2 if you're Custodes, because you could take a
Alaris.
Alaris, yeah, the 66-point guy, which
Right,
never saw play. Even
do you have one?
Yeah, I named him Maynard, but he never saw play because it was just better to have 3 bodies.
I don't think he's good enough to warrant the double the cost.
No, the axe is cool.
Oh, the Castellan or Castellan. I have no idea how to pronounce things.
It's high Gothic.
So we talked about favorite things to fight against. You said anything to crump. Like, my problem with the Tau is if you're deep striking, they've got that stupid recon bot that takes away your. Yeah, that thing sucks.
Yes, you're bringing back PTSD moments here.
And actually, Tom, you said I'll name drop another awesome podcast that you guys should listen to. Probably better than ours, honestly. I don't know. Stop listening to this. Go listen to them. But it's Command Point, and they did a podcast recently on the most broken things in Kill Team, and I think the recon drone was actually one of them, right, Tom? Or was it Phil telling me that? Maybe it was somebody else. Sorry, you guys all look the same.
Yeah. I don't
Well, the shield drone's busted as hell. I'll tell you that much. Recon drone I can manage. It's got a lot of shots for a little guy, but the shield drone, it's like, okay, yeah, I guess I can't kill that guy who's killing all my guys. That's fun. Thanks, guys.
But the recon drone, it takes away your obscurement thing, both on the injury roll and the hit roll. So, like, I was playing Thousand Suns, and I had my little sorcerer parked behind some really good terrain, but they could see just a bit of him. So the recon drone took away all of the obscurement bonus.
Yes. Yep.
So just another reason to say fuck Tau. All right. Anyway. All right. So Andrew, we mentioned rocket launcher, the commando. Are there any other auto includes in your orc list that you always have, no matter what?
Usually I pick the boy knob too, just because he's cheap. I mean, what is it? I don't know off the top of my head.
I think he's like 13.
12?
Maybe like, yeah, he's not much.
You could take him with the big chopper because it's like, yeah, that's all you really need. But for his price, 2 wounds, a 6 invuln with my dead skulls, but toughness 5, I think.
I think it's strength 5, toughness 4.
That's right. You're right.
But he's got 2 wounds. I think he's got 2 or 3. I'm actually looking him up right now. Of course, I think Tom's doing the same.
I used to take the knob. There's so many knobs. There's the boy, and then there's the knob. So
right.
like boss knob. It's just too expensive. And honestly, I'd rather have more boys. Because again, a big problem, and I said it up front, is your leadership sucks. You got to take a lot of guys who are paper armor. Mm-hmm. And if you lose too many guys, you just break. And that's the game right there.
Right. So, by the way, the boys knob, so this is the basically the leader of the boys group before they added a whole group of knobs and elites, right. is 10 points base. 3 attacks, 2 wounds, strength 5, toughness 4. Big chop is 3 points. That's a 2 damage weapon. So for 13 points, you get a 2 wound model that's hitting at strength 7, AP -1, D2, at least 3 times.
With a weapon skill 3.
With a 3 up weapon skill. That's pretty good.
It's damn good. It's definitely worth 2 boys.
Some would say too good. But not me.
Definitely not too good.
Of course, you got to have the what do you always call the leader who hides in the back? The coward leader?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to have your coward cultist hiding in the corner.
In my case, a coward Gretchen. I think
CP generator.
Coward leader is like super, super awesome. You just get a free and an
unless you
extra
get deep struck.
I try to build my board setup when I know I might get deep struck around. So just put things 5 inches from everything else. And then if they do, it's like kind of an inconvenient spot, but my leader's good.
Right.
So, and he's 3 points, which I'm pretty sure is the cheapest leader you can get in the entire game.
Unless there's a Kroot thing that's cheaper.
There's no cultist. I think is 5 points for the leader. And granted, like your leader Gretchen is just garbage, but not if you hide him. He's great.
Maybe one of the Gellerpox bugs you can.
Can they even be a leader?
Yeah. A curse mite is 4 points.
You get like a servo skull for the Sisters of Battle. Actually, that would be kind of tight. I want a servo skull on my team. All right. Is there anything orc related we didn't cover, Andrew? Anything other than the fact that you, I think your favorite Halloween costume was that orc, the year you went as an orc.
It was orc, but yes.
What? It was a Warcraft orc?
Mork from Orc?
Was. I was in 3rd grade. I found a Viking helmet with horns. So it was a Warcraft orc grunt. It was sweet. I also had like fangs and stuff. It was pretty sweet.
It was a sweet, yeah. That was like one of the top like cool kid costumes I think I've ever seen. I think that's all we need to cover. Like Andrew, at the end of the day, are they fun to play?
Oh yeah. Do I win? Nah, but it's fun.
Well, when you do win, it's because you outmaneuver, like you had to just fucking outsmart the other person, which is kind of ironic.
And I rolled well. Because when you're playing a 5-up Ballistic Steel Army, you roll well or you're probably not going to have a good time. Especially when you're evolving your entire strategy around one dude with a weapon that will kill you, but probably won't actually hit you.
We should come up with some kind of term for that. Like when you're not playing to win, you're playing because you have different winning criteria than your opponent does.
Again, it's orky. It's I want to crump you, and the entire reason I'm playing is to get the adrenaline dump from killing your custodies with an orc boy.
You got to get your tendies any way you can.
Uh-huh.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up, you also play. We all kind of divided up these factions. Now, Tom, I know I played you as Necrons once. You had a 5 Lichguard team, which crushed whatever team I was playing.
That was just for the rolls, yeah.
And Andrew, I know you play AdMech and also Necrons.
I would say Necrons is probably my second favorite army to play.
So let's dive into that. And I'm sure the only reason is, in addition to being fun, you have a pretty awesome name for your Necron team.
The red Necrons. I mean, it goes back to it's the what was it? The Get Off Milan protocol.
Is that your faction bonus?
Yeah. If I had to make my own, it would be And I think there's one that's like extremely territorial or something. So get
off my lawn.
Right. It's not the use, but
But by the way, like when Necrons first came out, they were more like Lovecraftian, like mindless automata that were like kind of under the rule of the Catan. And now, like I think 10 years ago maybe, they retconned that so that they're actually self-aware, or some of them are, especially the leaders, and they have personalities and all this other stuff. I was at first really against that because I loved the kind of like mystery, scary element of them being these like mindless, like killer robots. But man, I love what they've done with that. Like Trazyn the Infinite is so funny.
I love it, but at the same time, it's like, I mean, what they started as Space Undead, right? Basically, more or less. Yeah. So, I mean, I think make their own thing. That's cool.
I think the Tyranids kind of have the mindless destruction thing, going for them. So they needed to sort of give somebody else some more story.
And they still have this kind of unique perspective. They're not quite as like, let's see, the Eldar are condescending. I feel like the Necrons don't give a shit about you, but they're not condescending about it. They just don't give a shit. Whereas Eldar like want you to know they think you're a piece of shit, and Necrons like, yeah, okay, fuck off, dude. I'm trying to sleep here.
Yeah. Get off the lawn.
And then you said of your red Necrons, there were several specific characters, weren't there?
Well. The one that you always enjoyed is Roy Orbison. He's one of my list guards. He's got an orb on his head. It's Roy Orbison. Orbison.
Gotcha.
So that's him. I think I just named one of my other Lich Guard like Stabby McRipstab or something. Just something stupid.
I think it was Roy Orbison. I just thought that was because you kept calling him that the entire match. And again, we were a little drunk, so it was just so funny. Because, Roy Orbison's also really ugly, so I could see it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he loves Warhammer.
Well, so my leaders all have their own names, too. There's my warrior leader, my Necron warrior leader, who's like, his circuits are coming out. So if you don't know, General Patton, the World War II American general, was Old Blood and Guts. That was his name. So he's Patton bot. Because his blood and guts are coming out. And then my immortal leader, when I take him, I just called him Sherman bot, because he kind of just looks like William Tecumseh Sherman a little bit. So those are my cast of characters on the Red Necron.
Perfect. You got to have those. I mean, I know, Tom, you got a lot of characters whenever you're painting. Like, don't you kind of imagine? So, by the way, Andrew, I don't know if you've ever seen Tom's paint stuff. Like, he's like legit. Mm-hmm. But I know, Tom, when you're doing it, you usually have like a very specific like character or personality in mind. Is that true, or am I making that up? No bullshit.
Yeah, no, I just I don't know. I kind of let the model tell me what it wants, that sounds so fluffy and just bullshit.
Trust me, I dig it.
You kind of see what the model is telling you, what colors need to be where, and then, I don't know. Follow my Instagram.
Wait, we could plug it. Yeah, smash that like and subscribe for Tom's Instagram.
Bonesaw Miniatures.
Bonesaw Miniatures. So here's the reason I brought that up too is, we've talked before, the reason this hobby appeals to so many people, there's a lot of different elements to it. There's a building and painting. There's like the math hammer piece where you get to plan out, builds kind of like you might for like, let's say like Diablo 2 or like an RPG. And then there's the actual playing part. And I know for me, I really like the playing and the planning. And I know, Tom, you love that painting and modeling. Mm-hmm. And Andrew, I think that's a big part of the meditative quality of this to you too, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I take my time. I'm one of those guys who paints one model at a time, and I spend like an hour and a half per model. Yeah. So by the end of the day, when most people have a whole army painted, I've got like 3 guys. The reason I said I dig like the way you said that you do models is like when you take an hour and a half per model, you've got a lot of time to use your left brain on like, what is my head canon for this guy? Like what is his whole deal? So yeah, no, I dig it.
I tried batch painting and I absolutely hated it.
Yeah. It takes the joy out of it. It becomes an assembly line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the assembly line guy. I specifically went with Tyranids because I could use 2 different contrast paint colors and they'd still look good. It's not that I don't like painting, but Andrew, I'm kind of like you, which is, in my mind, I know how I want it to look, and I will spend hours. Like the first Thousand Suns, I told Tom in the last episode, I always loved Thousand Suns models. Mm-hmm. And then when they came out with that plastic kit, I was like, oh man, here's my chance. And I spent probably like 5 or 6 hours per guy, like getting all the little grooves painted gold and, the blue and yellow kind of like repeating pattern. And I was so pissed off at the end of it because even with all that effort, there were still imperfections I could see. So after that, unless I really love a model, I don't really devote that much time to it. So there are a couple exceptions. Like my Legion of the Damned guys, I loved painting those guys.
And there's a difference between having like a tabletop standard where they look good from 3 feet away and like really doing them up that if you actually pick a model up and look at it in your hand, you want it to look good. And I want everything to look as good as I can make it.
So here's my curse, and that is I'm nearsighted, like excessively so. I take my contacts and glasses off when I paint, so I can see molecules. So if something's like off, I don't necessarily have the dexterity to fix it, but I'm going to try to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Well, what changed my game, oil paints. I don't know if you've gotten into this yet. Yeah, I can't do it. Well, acrylics are good for base coating, but if you want to blend colors out, there's nothing better than a good oil paint. Because it doesn't dry so quickly. Like it's pretty much with an acrylic, as soon as you put it on the model, it's dry, and then if you try to do anything with it, it cracks. But an oil takes at least like 24 hours to dry. So if you fuck something up, just take it off, do it again, remove it, and it blends out easily. They're just so much easier.
I get very good at stripping paint. Let me put it that way.
Oh, that's right, because we bought like 200 or 300 orcs. So basically, some guy who had his like, my wife's had enough, and I have to get rid of all my models sale. So we bought those, and then you stripped them all and repainted them all, right?
Yeah. So I spent like probably 3-4 weeks procedurally stripping them in a little vat of cleaner, and then I would brush them with a toothbrush, put them back in the thing, and do it about 6 times, because I don't know what kind of paint this guy used, but holy goddamn, they were like just thick and gummy, and eventually got them all down to stripped, rebased them, and then started. I mean, there's so many. I've got orcs for a lifetime to paint. And what was the whole thing was like a hundo.
It was sad. Like the guy was, I felt, I actually gave him extra money because he was like, look, I just need to get rid of these, take the rest. And I was like, look, here's like, I basically gave him all the money I had on me, because I was like, I felt bad just because it's like, he was sad. He's like, dude, don't worry about it. I've got like 18 more armies at home. I'm just getting rid of one of them.
I could tell the guy tried on like the first 3 orcs. I could probably identify. And then he was like, dude, man, I've got like 2,000 points. Let me just, okay, it's done. Next one. And yeah, I learned his paint style. I think he really liked his Storm Boys because they were really well painted, but like everything else was just like, yeah, wait, red helmet. Okay, I got a little on the face. I don't care. Okay, yellow shirt. Yeah, sure, whatever. Brown pants. Okay, next one. And so it was just, yeah.
That was like me with my Astra Militarum team, because the first couple I was like, oh, this is fun. But I had to make like 20 dudes, and I was converting all of them because I wanted them to have interchangeable arms so I magnetized them. And then there were some cases like, I'm not buying 8 groups to get plasma guns. I bought like Space Marine plasma guns, and I had to like cut them and file them to fit. So but eventually, like, their hands weren't even touching the weapon. It was just like kind of loosely like meh, like touching their fingers. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Because they're going to die in 3 seconds on the tabletop anyway. Hey, so the other one question I wanted to ask you, I think, Tom, we talked about this in a previous episode. I remember the moment where I kind of fell in love with Warhammer. Mm-hmm. And it was, my friend had a Angels of Death, so that was like the Blood Angels and Dark Angels Codex, like the 2nd edition one. Andrew, I still have it, by the way. It's got like the guy with the skull helmet on it.
Yeah, I remember you used to read that codex and just fantasize that we had more allowance. And you get the stuff you wanted.
And it wasn't even, but it was that, like, and being like, oh man. But I also knew I could never paint or make them look like what they looked like. But the stories in there were so good. And there was one where it was like a group of like maybe like 3 Blood Angels with jetpacks like jump in, and it just got into such gory detail about how they just like destroyed these like 20 traitor guardsmen. And I remember the passage was like, oh, he picked one up and threw him with contemptuous ease, and then like basically shot him in the gut with a bolt pistol, and he exploded. And in the air, his intestines rained down on the Blood Angel, who didn't even notice. And I was just like, what the actual fuck just happened? I think I just got my first erection. So do you guys remember what was that moment for you when you were like, oh, this is some cool shit, I want to play this?
Man, that's a tough question, because it's definitely some orky. I think it was when we were kids, and I was standing at a Games Workshop because like our mom wanted to go somewhere and shop somewhere, and I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. So I was hanging out at the Games Workshop at like 9-10 years old, just like looking at stuff, window shopping, which, the guy was very charitable to let a kiddo, look around at the store. But I was looking at the orc vehicle selection and just the shambled together nature of it. And I was like, you know what? Like this, I can get behind a faction that just like found some stuff, put it together, like, yeah, maybe works. So yeah, let's do it.
Do you remember like the 2nd edition Orc Dreadnought that had like the little checker pattern on it?
Yeah, and I never knew how they did that. I guess it was a transfer, but like I always was like, oh man, that guy must be really good at painting to put a checker pattern like that. But
I just remember like that, because what you just said, like the orc vehicles were super cool. Like they were just really colorful and bright. I just put a picture in the Skype window.
Is that a killer can?
No, that was the second edition Dreadnought.
Yeah.
That was before Killicans were a thing.
I think probably. I always imagine that like a lot of the things developed because someone was playing tabletops. Like, oh yeah, this is my killer can. That's a Dreadnought. That's what he called it because it looks like a soda can or something. So, yeah.
By the way, killer cans are awesome. I think those are so fun.
They're terrible, but they're really cool.
I know. Tom, you can paint checker pattern, right? You did it on your Harlequins.
After a lot of cursing, and yeah, it took quite a while.
Lines with a paintbrush suck. That's all I can say.
Though not as bad as eyeballs.
I don't even try with eyeballs.
Yeah, I got Sisters of Silence, having to do their eyes. It's like, well, they have heavy makeup. Shut up.
So that's one of the reasons why I play Xenos is you can just, hey, he's got red evil eyes. Cool. All right.
Yeah, all the orcs have been drinking nothing but Surge for 3 days, so their eyes are super red.
I mean, it's one of those like late 90s things. I miss that soda. All the caffeine I drink these days is just in homage almost to the days of Surge.
Dude, Tom, do you remember like when you were first exposed to Warhammer, or when you first kind of got really interested in playing?
Yeah, it probably wasn't as early as you guys. I was more of a Magic the Gathering, D&D kid growing up. But that, tabletop games sort of led into wargaming. I think what really got it was the Khorne Lord of Skulls. Just the fact that it had a cannon that shot flaming skulls.
Yes.
And also its flamer shot boiling blood. Like that just seemed so like badass.
It's metal as hell.
It's the best metal thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah, it definitely appealed to my my black metal soul.
So we kind of started on the Necron thread, and then I took us down a nostalgia path. Let's end there. So Andrew, Necrons, you've had some success with them, right?
After you guys figured out how to get around the bullshit, I think like when we were first starting, that was the first army I got. So when we were first starting, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, lots of AP. All right, okay, what else? Lots of damage." So like if you hit a Necron with a high damage weapon, I don't care, man. Go for it. Mm-hmm. So because you're gonna roll a 6, and I'm good. It's so satisfying that you put that many points into trying to kill me. I don't care, man.
And I mean, I think what we found, flayed ones, so they have that one faction bonus where they can reroll all hits, and then flayed ones can reroll all wounds. So it's kind of, because each of them has at least 3 attacks, right?
They get an ungodly amount of attacks.
We might have been talking about this before we started recording, but it goes back to what I was saying. That Spaceballs meme I sent you.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone has ever seen the movie Spaceballs. It is actually my favorite movie of all time. Classic spoof of Star Trek and Star Wars. But there's a character by the name of Dark Helmet, and he uses the Schwartz to get like basically a light, right? But he's Rick Moranis. He's a tiny little guy with a little tiny limb. And Bill Pullman is the protagonist. So Bill Pullman puts his hand on Dark Helmet's head, and Dark Helmet's trying to swing his lightsaber, can't reach him. So the theory is, so you've got Necrons are too specialized. Their close combat guys only do close combat, and their ranged guys only do ranged. And neither is really good at the other one. So if you have a Lich Guard, who, again, we talked about, it's like one of the best close combat guys per point cost, I think, in the entire kill team range. Yeah. But the way to counter it is just throw low point models in his face, and if he misses, he's useless.
Because the next round, if you don't have initiative, he can just back out, basically.
Right. And then you get 2 rounds where he didn't do anything.
That is really frustrating. And granted, like, so Tom and I were talking about in the GW preview from last week, they mentioned they were going to redo melee rolls. I kind of think they need to, because that's such a glaring issue. I was playing against again Phil last week, and he had his what is that thing? The grotesque, which is like a monster model. For whatever reason, did not kill me in one round of combat, so I just backed out of combat the next turn, and that guy could do nothing for the entire turn.
Yeah. Again, it's maybe a Band-Aid fix, but my idea always has been, like, maybe you can't charge the guy who just backed up. Maybe you can charge someone else if they're in range. So, like, you still have that immunity from getting crumped again, but the guy's not completely useless because he doesn't even have any kind of range weapon. So I don't know.
And I know that's like a faction bonus, so like White Scars and I think it's Kraken is the Tyranid one that gets that. But I agree. I think that should be standard.
Got to go faster.
That and the fact that you shouldn't be able to melee somebody through a wall or door.
I mean, we've talked about that to no end. I do not like it, but the rule reads, right, if you're within an inch of a guy, it doesn't specify if there is a wall in the way that you can't see through.
You don't need line of sight.
No.
Huh.
At least according to the tournament I was in, where some guy pulled that shit on me, and I was like, "This is fucking stupid."
You're pulling a Kool-Aid.
At least you get an injury bonus because you're obstructed, right?
You're not obstructed. You're invisible. All right, I'm getting excited now. All right, I think we covered everything. Any parting thoughts? We talked about orcs. We talked about Necrons. We talked about the hobby. I think we covered all our bases.
I think so.
All right,
anything
Tom,
that I'm any kind of an expert on, anyway, if you want to call it that.
Well, we never claim to be experts. We're just passionate. Yeah, you know what? Screw it. I'm an expert. I don't care.
A couple of guys talking out of their ass.
That's right. Well, out of their ass while drinking whatever we can get our hands on a Friday night after a really hard work week, dealing with real life responsibilities and trying to hide in an alternate reality where little plastic men fight each other. You know why?
That's our new entrance.
Because it's fun. Because it's fun, and I couldn't do it when I was a kid. So I'm making up for it now. That in no way depresses me. All right, Tom, what do we always say?
Good fight, good night.
And?
Adios, bitchachos. Don't forget to mash that like and subscribe button.
When in doubt, punch it out.
Whip it out.
Whip it good.
Santa Barbara, where Rob Lowe humps it out.
I have no idea what the fuck you just said, but I like it. All right, we're...